This is Honors Geometry, Lesson 7-7 Extension, Law of Sines. So let me show you how it works. So we're going to start with a triangle. In this case, it's not a right triangle. We haven't used our trig ratios except in right triangles, but I'm going to show you how you can use it when it's not a right triangle. So I have triangle ABC. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the altitude. That's the height of the triangle from a vertex perpendicular to the other side, and I'm just going to call that H for height. All right, so now I do have right triangles, so now I'm going to use our good old SOHCAHTOA. In fact, I'm going to start with sine. I'm going to say sine from angle A is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's H over B. Now I'm going to do sine from angle B. Sine from angle B is opposite over hypotenuse, so that's H over A. Now I'm going to solve each side for H, so I'm going to multiply both sides by B. So I get sine of angle A times B equals H. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to solve for H. I want to get H by itself, so I'm going to multiply both sides by A. So I get H equals sine of angle B times A. Now these are both equal to H, so they're equal to each other. So I'm going to say sine of angle A times side B equals sine of angle B times side A. Now I'm going to divide each side by B to get rid of that B. And I get sine of angle A equals sine of angle B times A over B. Now I'm going to divide each side by A to get rid of that A. And our final answer is sine of angle A over side A is equal to sine of angle B over side B. Now you're saying, hey, I don't know what you're talking about, or that doesn't seem so amazing, but it is amazing. And I'm going to show you why in 1 second. So that's our formula. It's called Law of Sines. And officially here it is. It's sine of angle A over side A, that's the side across from it, is equal to the sine of angle B over side B is equal to, we could do it a third time, angle C over side C. When can you use Law of Sines? Again, it doesn't have to be a right triangle. It can be. You need to have at least one side length with the angle across from it, the measure of the angle across from it. And then you also have to have one other piece of information, one other side or one other angle. And let's go ahead and give it a try. Don't get hung up on the A's and B's, what's called A and B. Your triangle might be QRS or something, but let me just go ahead and write that again for you. It's sine of angle A is to side A as sine of angle B is to side B as sine of angle C is to side C. So here we go. Remember I said you have to have an angle and a side across from it and one other piece of information. So we're going to go ahead and use Law of Sines on this one. We're looking for the length of side AB, so I'm just going to call that X. So I'm going to say sine of 44, right there, is to the side it's across from, which is 7, is to the sine of 53, is to the side it's across from, which is our unknown. I'm just calling X in this case. I guess you could officially call it side C. Now we're going to cross multiply. I'm not going to punch these in my calculator yet. Oops. I'm going to say,
at this time, any students in CTE, carpentry, automotive, culinary, early childhood education, also life skills students, if anyone still needs to have a makeup picture day, please go ahead and head to the Fowler Library at this time.
okay, now I'm going to divide each side by sine of 44 to get X by itself. Now I'm ready to punch this in my calculator. I'm going to punch in my calculator sine of 53, close parenthesis, times 7, and then I'm going to divide that by sine of 44. And I get our missing side is about 8.04. So I'm going to say our missing side's about 8 units long. Okay, and that's a reasonable answer. Let's try another one. So again, you have to have an angle and a side across from it. We don't have that here. The only side we have is this one, so we need this angle, but that's not a problem. We know that 3 angles have to add up to 180, so let's go ahead and figure that out. So we take 180 minus 140. It looks like our missing angle is 40. Now we're ready. So we have to have an angle, a side across from it, and one other piece of information. This time we're looking for side AC. So I'm going to go ahead and call that our x. So I'm going to say sine of 40 is to the side it's across from, which is 24. We're setting up our proportion, our law of sines. And then we'll say as sine of 22, remember it has to be across from it, and we're looking for x, so that's why I chose 22. As sine of 22 is to x, we're cross multiplying. Sine of 22 times 24 equals sine of 40 times x. We're going to divide each side by sine of 40. And I'm ready to go to my calculator. I punch in my calculator sine of 22, close parenthesis, times 24, and then divide by sine of 40. And I see my missing side is about 13.98, so we're going to call that side 14, which does seem reasonable considering this side is 24. Now let's try it with a missing angle. It still works. You still have to have an angle and a side across from it and one other piece of information. This time we're looking for angle C. So we're going to use the 20. So I'm going to say sine of 82 is to 29 as the sine of angle C. We don't know that. We're just going to call it C right now. Is to 20. We're still going to cross multiply. So I get sine of C times 29, that's our unknown, is to sine of 82 times 20. I'm going to divide each side by 29 to get our unknown by itself. Boom. All right, now I'm ready for my calculator. So I say sine of 82, close parenthesis, times 20, divide by 29, and I get, this is what I'm getting, 0.6829. And you know that angle is not 0.06829. Remember, when we're looking for an angle using sine, that's when we do our backward sign, our inverse sign. So I'm going to press second sine. I'm going to punch that in. 6829, and I get that my missing angle is 43 degrees. So remember, anytime you're looking for an angle using one of the trig ratios, you have to use the inverse. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here one more time. So I have to have an angle and a side across from it, which we do. And I'm looking for angle C, so I'm going to use the 6. Okay, so I'm going to say sine of 103 is to 26 as sine of C, our unknown, is to the side it's across from, which is 6. I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to divide to get my unknown by itself, so I'm going to divide each side by 26. Boom. Here we go. So I know that sine of angle C is, I'm going to take sine of 103 times 6 divided by 26, and I get 0.2248. And now I'm going to go inverse sine because we're looking for an angle. Second sine 0.2248. And it tells me my missing angle is 13 degrees, which seems reasonable. It's an acute angle. There's one more thing we have to talk about. Now we have enough information to do what's called solving the triangle. We can find all the missing pieces as long as we're given two angles and a side or two sides and an angle. Okay, so we're going to start with law of sines. Let's see what we have. We need this angle, so we're going to take 36 plus 113. We're going to take 180 minus 149. So it looks like our missing angle is 31 degrees. If I did my math. All right, so we're missing two sides and one angle. We found our missing angle. So now we just have to find our missing sides. So I'm going to start with sine of 31 over 14 as 2. And it doesn't matter where you go from here. Maybe I'll just find KP. So I'm going to say sine of 113 is to, I'll call it x for now. Call it sine of 113 times 14, I'm just cross multiplying now, equals sine of 31 times x. Divide each side by sine of 31 to get my x by itself. All right, now I'm ready for my calculator. So I'm going to punch in my calculator, sine of 113, close parenthesis, times 14, divided by sine of 31, and my missing side turns out to be, about 25. And that seems like a reasonable answer. We knew it was going to be more than 14. And now we're going to do it one more time because we need this side. So this time we're going to use the 36, and I'll just call this y. So we're going to start the same way. We're going to say sine of 31 over 14, over the side it's across from, is 2. The sine of 36 is 2. I'll call this y. We're going to cross multiply. Divide each side by sine of 31. Okay, and now I'm ready for my calculator. I say sine of 36 times 14, and then divide by sine of 31, and I get my missing side is 14.97, so we're going to call that, 15.97, so we're going to call that 16. All right, please try the practice. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.